what's funny is, as a matter of fact, the client who needs their items moved to Texas doesn't even know where they are in the city. He knows they're in a storage unit. He doesn't know where. They're
So
in Brooklyn.
have they all
Talk about
used-
like a needle in a haystack,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, boy.
But we're gonna get it done.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mirabile, and I'm here with Jack Maseka, and we're moving you into the future with the Advance Group. Oh my God, it is so nice to be here.
It
How
is.
are you, Jack?
I'm good. I'm good. We
You're good?
are kind of in the thick of summer right now, and with summers comes some excitement as a whole.
Oh my God, there's the smell of hot dogs, the vendors are out, there's pretzels. I feel like New York is just coming right back. The streets are alive.
They are. They really are. And the stores are full again.
So nice
There's
to
definitely
see.
some action. I just bought tickets to my first concert.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
That's
in over
so
a
exciting.
Year. So,
Wow. Live
there's-
music.
Exactly.
Ugh,
I know. I'm pumped.
So nice.
I'm pumped.
So nice. And with that being said, 46% of all businesses are coming back to the office, but they're kind of still in transition. They're moving into smaller spaces. What are you seeing?
Right. So, we've talked about the return to office and everything
yeah,
we've seen
sure.
through that. And, a lot during the pandemic was planning.
Yep.
What are we going to do? What's it going to look like?
Yeah, that unknown.
Exactly. And now we're seeing a lot of the execution. And with that execution comes a lot of different variables. But, one of the things we are seeing is companies are downsizing their space right now. With employees working from home now, they have an opportunity to downsize and save money.
Interesting point, because although everyone's kind of coming back, the real estate market is still super high.
Oh, super high. Yeah,
super high.
hot.
So
Yeah.
they're coming back in smaller spaces, which means they can, save money on their real estate costs and overhead. So that's
Right, exactly. And I was just talking with Oliver about that. Even though like per square footage rates didn't decrease that much, there was a ton of incentives that landlords were offering with TI and free year or 3 months rent and stuff like that. And a lot of companies are taking advantage of that, and they're using that to their advantage. Oliver even mentioned some landlords are willing to pay the rest of tenants' leases, just so they either take more space.
So Oliver is a commercial real estate specialist.
That's right.
That was in your last podcast. Now, I really enjoyed that podcast. I learned a lot, and that's why I had actually brought up the real estate space. So it's not that the prices have dropped, because I've seen an increase in the prices, but they're offering more incentives to their tenants, which is interesting. Okay.
Exactly. And the sublease market is still on fire. And what we're also seeing is some subleases that were on the market, Oliver was telling me, are coming off because some companies who thought they were going to need less space didn't need that. But one of the things I'm really focused on helping clients with right now, as we do transition back into the space and make these reconfigurations, is the management of their assets.
What is that? What is asset management? What exactly consists, or constitutes, I should say, an asset?
So let me preface this first. A lot of people think of asset management as far as the financial aspect.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
What is a moving company doing with asset management? I don't understand.
Right. Ours is a little different. So ours is physical asset management within the office space. So, when you do rent that space, you're going to fill it with assets. Those assets being the office furniture, the IT components, all of the office supplies, if you want to get that granular. Essentially anything that you purchase for that space becomes the company's assets.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And
that makes sense.
And what we aim to do is help manage those assets. So,
in which way? What do you mean by manage?
So, good question. Whether or not you maintain an asset within that space. So hypothetically speaking, and what we've been seeing a lot of is companies are downsizing their space. So what that means is, prior they had, let's say, 20,000 square foot of office space, and they had furniture to fill out that office space completely. Well, now they only have 10,000 square feet of office space, and they don't need all that furniture anymore. So what are they doing with it? We can help them, and what we've been doing is helping them move it back to storage to hold there, or liquidating, donating, disposing it completely.
So the Advance Group can liquidate and dispose of the assets, as you call them, right? Furniture, desks, computers too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine that there's some issues with privacy on computers.
There is, and that's actually a very good point to bring up. You have to essentially strip the computer of all of its information. It's a process. It's called e-waste.
Okay.
And it is a process of basically getting all of the IP, intellectual property, related to that company off of that computer, off of that hard drive. We do that.
Okay. And now are you... I'm sorry, I have so many questions
go,
about it.
yeah.
So do you catalog this, or before you go ahead and wipe out a computer, are you putting it on some kind of like storage device so they still have that, because they can't lose the intellectual property, I imagine?
So what happens?
Asking.
So what
Sorry,
happens was, no, don't apologize. These are good questions. What happens is that computer, essentially what happens is you have an asset tag that you'll place on that computer, and that asset tag will have either a barcode or a number or something to that effect, where you can essentially scan it, and then the information related to that computer, whether it be its hard drive information, its like IP address, whatever it may be, is uploaded into a software, and then that asset essentially has its own story related to it. And like what's a part of that story is like the purchase date, the model, the size, whatever it may be. And then what happens is if you are getting rid of that asset, you essentially continue the story to show that on such and such date, this asset has been terminated. We no longer have it. It's been disposed. It's been donated. You have to highlight that when you do that, because hypothetically speaking, if you don't do that and you get audited as a company, well, then that asset still shows up on your ledger sheet, in which case you're paying for an asset that you don't even have anymore.
Got it.
And that's where we can help. We can help keep those assets organized, because it's incredibly important. When I was on the end user side, we were in an opposite situation where we were in a position of hyper growth. And because of that, as a new company too, we were young. We were not effectively managing our assets. And I saw this happening. And like, God forbid, there's a flood, there's a fire, something along those lines. If we lose those assets, we don't have any paper trail other than our purchase date. And that becomes very dangerous for tax reasons, for insurance reasons, if anything happens. So I really care a lot, and I bring it up to clients all the time about, even though you are getting rid of this asset, you need to make sure that you eliminate it on your balance sheet and it no longer is your asset. And on the opposite end of that, if you do, let's say, move it into storage for temporary storage, whether it be 6 months, whether it be, years, whether you don't know how long it's going to be there, but you want to keep it for a future date, just in case, it's still your asset, and it needs to be documented where it is and what it's doing right now. So, again, we offer not only the software, but the services to update that asset if needed. So it's in storage right now.
Okay.
And you know where that is. And again, even taking this a little bit further, if you move, let's say you are downsizing, let's say you had 20,000 square feet of space, and now you're going to have 10,000 square feet in Manhattan and 10,000 in Brooklyn, and you're moving assets from the Manhattan office to the Brooklyn office.
You're answering my question. I was just going to ask you, are you managing that, or reallocating those assets to different locations for them as well? Because I would imagine if, I am now opening a facility in Texas, right? We have so many businesses that are moving headquarters outside of New York, or a satellite office. Could they reallocate those assets to other individuals without having a problem on their ledger or a chance of intellectual property being shared on accident? And how does the advanced group sort of manage that for a company?
Right.
Or ensure, the success of that?
That's a good question, because, again, why it's advantageous to work with the advanced group on this, because we are the ones moving your assets already. So we're already taking an inventory of items when we move them to protect ourselves. So therefore, we're already part of this process naturally, which makes sense for us to be involved in the asset management process, because we know what we moved. And by knowing that and having that information, we can easily upload it into an asset management software and tell the story. Like I said, continue the story. Every asset has a story.
So when you say upload, it lives online. So if I was, let's say, the CIO of a company, I could go on and take a look and see where those assets might be, so that I could plan, my next technology move, or, into a different space, or just to see what I have available for me to reallocate.
Exactly.
Okay.
And even coming out of the pandemic too, I know we've talked about this before. If companies were offering to purchase certain IT or certain furniture items, let's say companies offered a sit-stand desk to,
Sure.
for employees to pick from, or a chair or anything like that. Again, just because it didn't make its way into the office space, it's still a company asset. So you need to, let's say that employee now found a new job during the pandemic and they're not with the company anymore,
Right.
it's still your asset. And, we see it so often. It becomes such a slippery slope with this because, again, C-level suite executives are focused on other things, and facilities people are focused on maintaining the office. And, we can really help be that, I don't want to say crutch, but resource to help manage this flux of change that we're in right now to really make it a lot easier for, clients as they manage this just choppy water right now, and getting back and,
Sure,
and getting back
in
to
certain
level.
waters.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no one knows how long we should hold on to these assets, right? But I did like these tips that you kind of shared with me that you created for moving into a smaller office space, which was, getting rid of the unneeded furniture and equipment so you can help them assess what they need, what they should store, and for how long, correct?
Absolutely.
Measuring of the space, so that they have an idea of the footprint that they're currently going to take, make sure it's accurate, so that they can have their designers or their team, come in and reallocate the space and use it efficiently. Consider multi-purpose furnishings. I loved that because I'm always into maybe something that I once used as a desk now becoming, shelving space or, and I think that that's really important. Even one desk becoming two. I read that you had put that in there and I thought that that was great. And the fact that you guys are, part of OMA,
Yeah.
I think speaks volumes for your capabilities and the ability to kind of get you from one place to the other if you're, going into a smaller space or setting up that satellite office, that you have those partners that sort of do that for us.
And one of the things you mentioned about OMA, what we've seen an uptick in is a lot more movement of assets to different markets because New York's always been a hub. We've talked about this
Sure.
before. It's
Right.
it's like the hub.
Yeah.
And what I've been doing actually now is some items that were in storage
Right.
are getting moved to different markets now to be allocated there. So again, as part of that asset management process, we can help basically connect that paper trail as it leads to the new office. And I've been doing moves for clients. I got one going to Austin, and then another actually is going to Paris from New York.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting to see, again, what they need. And what's funny is, as a matter of fact, the client who needs their items moved to Texas doesn't even know where they are in the city. He knows they're in a storage unit. He doesn't know where. They're
So
in Brooklyn.
have they all
Talk about
used-
like a needle in a haystack,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, boy.
But we're gonna get it done. I got to talk to the property management there and kind of connect the dots to see where this is. But imagine that,
It's like a scavenger hunt.
it can be. I mean, again, if you don't have control of your assets
Yeah.
in that paper trail, it can be like a scavenger hunt. And, like I said, God forbid anything ever happens, you want to make sure that process can be run as easy as possible for your finance department and things like that.
Well, not only that, but so many businesses go out of business, right? And when you're dealing with, you might save a couple of grand on a move, but when you're talking about, longevity and the experience and then the partners and, being able to handle everything for years to come, from start to finish, along with the catalog, it seems like, it's a no-brainer to call the Advance Group or someone like the Advance Group,
Right.
to help out.
I agree.
So,
I agree wholeheartedly, but definitely just call the Advance Group.
all right, Jack. I'll call the Advance Group.
And how's everything been with you, too? You're kind of getting a pickup, too, with business and whatnot, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice to hear the phones ring. I mean, for a while there, it was just so super quiet. We'd sit in the office and it would be like crickets. But now to have the phones ring, people coming back to life, there's a lot to talk about. And there's a lot to talk about, I think, for every company that we deal with, whether it be, law firms that are dealing with their moves and their assets and their records and things like that. On the digital marketing side,
Right.
they're also dealing with how are they now communicating? How are they breaking through, the clutter, which, the digital playing field has been so robust lately
Yep.
that you can't get your voice heard. And now new privacy issues that have come out through COVID. I don't know if you read, but there was a huge cyber breach with
I did. Yeah.
a lot of security. So that's another issue, with managing that. And so there's just a lot going on. There's always something new coming out, a lot to read,
Yeah.
a lot of information being shared digitally. Again, those privacy issues come up over and over again, and that's where, we really shine in making sure that you get your voice heard above this and that you're taking the proper steps to be so secure and careful with the sharing of that information.
Right, and that's too, and you do a great job with us. But yeah, again, that's too, you brought it up in terms of with the e-waste and getting rid of those monitors, because we talked about like the furniture aspect, but even if you were allowing an employee to buy like a monitor or anything along those lines that's related to IT, you need to make sure if you are e-wasting it and getting rid of it, to put it just easily, you have to make sure you take the necessary precautions to wipe that of any impertinent IP information.
Actually, Anthony shared a document with me at some point because we were doing the same thing. And he's like, well, and it was so nice to see that you guys actually had documentation on how to go about this process, because I've asked others and they don't. So when eliminating, such sensitive data as we have with our clients, it was great to be able to rely on the advanced group to take me sort of through those steps of what I need to do first. Make sure the laptops are shut down, make sure that you've signed out of all of your just really basic things, and make sure you're signed out of all of your emails, all of your iClouds.
Right.
I use iCloud, so I said iCloud, but all your cloud software, that you're completely shut off and have removed yourselves from that before it goes out to be e-wasted, as you say, and wiped out, and that all the information is in a secure cloud environment. It was nice to be able to sort of go through a checklist,
right,
that Anthony, had shared with me that you guys do. And I think that it's so important, and it kind of made me feel secure in even making the decision to use you, because it seemed like you were the experts and you had the experience behind you. And I think that that's what speaks volumes.
Yeah, no, that is the name of the game, and that is one of the things that we can kind of rest our head on at the advanced group, is knowing that we do have people in places internally who are the experts, whether it be moving, whether it be furniture installation, whether it be IT. We have the right people, leading that ship and steering that ship, so to speak. So yeah, we see it time and time again with clients, and it's nice too, because I know that I don't have to be the expert on everything.
That's great.
I can rely on people to come in and say, if a client has a question for me, I can say, I might not know the answer, but so-and-so on our team certainly will. Let's set up a meeting with him and discuss this a little more.
I think that's so smart, because when you're dealing with other intellectual people, they're going to know you don't know all the answers,
exactly.
right?
I
mean, Lee Iacocca, I always use this example. Lee Iacocca didn't build the car, right?
Exactly.
He ran a really great company, but he didn't build the car.
Right.
You have to rely on your team, and the team is what makes you, right? And the team is really what creates your brand, right? And that's, my whole mantra, right? and my specialty. But you guys have a great team. It makes me feel secure. I loved that you were always available for the questions and answers. And when you didn't know the answers, you put me in touch with your expert on those matters. And of course, you can't know everything, right? So there's technology issues. There's, liquidation. I don't think you're holding any kind of auctions anytime soon, but the people in your company do, right?
Exactly. And we can get you best price for, some clients actually right now, they were going to buy new office chairs, which cost like $1,000 a piece. And I saw this, I was like, listen, I can get you some alternative options that are far more affordable and still just as dependable, in quality furniture, and name brand furniture, like stuff you would want to buy. It's just used. And and that's the thing. I mean, that's a way you're saving a client thousands of dollars. I mean, like tens of thousands of dollars. So, that's like a way that we can offer our not just knowledge, but resources to client to help save you money.
I just want to bring up one point. Not only is it used, but it's cleaned,
Right,
which
that's what
I
I
was
mean.
so
That's what I
thrilled
mean. I mean,
with
it's
that,
like
to see
new.
the process, because you guys, the pandemic where a lot of us are vaccinated, but you still have to be careful. So I was so happy to find that when you're dealing with those other, used pieces of furniture, that you did put it through the same process
Right.
as when you clean, the offices that are active. So that was really nice and made me feel confident in that as well.
Yeah, we deliver it like new. I mean, you would never know it. No employee
Never.
would ever know it was used.
know.
And like that's the other thing too we offer internally is like furniture, refurbishment and restoration too. So even if you had an item damaged, whether it be through the move or something internally, we can help fix that. You don't have to go buy a whole new table or buy a whole new chair. Yeah,
That's really
I mean,
good to
again,
know.
that saves a ton of money. So yeah, that's where we aim to help, and just being a beacon of knowledge and resources for clients. And we're seeing it more and more now. What was interesting is I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I started during the pandemic. So like my introduction, not just to the advanced group, but as the industry as a whole, was so distorted by that. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just outside of the norm. And like now I'm starting to see a bit of quote unquote normalcy with the position and dealing with clients and like the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because everything before was customized to the pandemic. And now we're seeing a little bit more, the normal work being done. And it's really, it ended up being incredibly valuable for me because I still learned everything. But as far as applying it, I wasn't doing it necessarily, and now I am. And I'm saving clients. I mean, tons and tons of money. Like, it's awesome. It's amazing. It's what we're here for.
No, I love that.
Yeah, it is. And like, it really is. It's what I want to do. Like, listen, I understand I cost money myself,
Sure.
but I can help save you twice the amount of money that I cost, if not more. So like, that's kind of.
Well, that's a great testimonial.
Yeah,
I mean.
yeah. And I mean, the job's
That's
not done
really
yet.
phenomenal.
Now we're looking at like a September open date. But
Yeah.
I'll get that testimonial when it's all said and done. And, that's incredibly valuable because that's what I aim to do. But I've talked about, my ambition to be a consultant and a resource. And that's what I'm doing with this client. And it's just going really, really well.
Well, I have to say, I love this podcast. I
Yeah, I
thought
know.
this was filled with so much great information. We went from everything on tips to moving to a small office, to asset management, how to manage that, to saving money. I
Right.
mean,
What
it
more
was
can you
great.
ask for?
Exactly. And I'm so glad to be back at work. So thanks, Jack. Thanks so much for coming on today. And I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too, Lisa.
Everyone, be sure to go to theadvancedgrp.com and visit our podcast page. And of course, leave your comments, anything you want to hear about. So much going on in real estate, so much going on in moving. And let's get back to work. Take care.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. Take
Bye.
care.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast at theadvancedgrp.com. That's theadvancedgrp.com.